I'd just like to say it's I'm very proud and very humbled to be able to introduce my good friend, Raphael.
Thank you, Donna. That was so If my head explodes and I get you all covered in gray matter after that far too generous introduction, I apologize. Thank you, Dana. That was, I have to say, the most kind introduction I've ever been given. So I'm very proud to be here. I also know that I'm following some pretty powerful presenters, particularly Victor Dover and Rick Gonzalez. Who was the first?
Victor was first, then Ellen Dunham Jones.
Ellen Dunham Jones, another all-star. So I really hope I don't disappoint. I'm a local. I'm a few blocks away from Dana, and I've had a really incredible opportunity to work basically right in my neighborhood. And for me, I'm passionate about the public realm, and my job has allowed me to shepherd in some really cool projects and some cool new policies. One of them being the use of art, and not just visual art, but all kinds of art as a placemaking tool, and I'll describe what I mean by placemaking. That's an overused term, but also an economic development tool. But I want to start by laying some ground rules, because when we talk about this stuff, there's a lot of, it creates a lot of ideas, but there are limitations to what we can do. So, stealing an image from one of Dana's presentations at Treasure Coast, this is State Road 7 and Forest Hill Boulevard. We are not talking about fixing this place. That little fountain there tucked off in that water retention pond is not public art. You can't fix this with anything unless you've got something like the Angel of the North in the United Kingdom with a 180-foot wingspan, cost of $1 million. You could plop the Angel of the North down there in the middle of that intersection, and you'd probably make a change there, but that's an impractical application. There is a shifting paradigm, and I'm sure many of you either know this, live it, experience it, read about it. The old idea of who we are as a culture and a society and what is desirable is changing. The shine is coming off of suburban living pretty rapidly. I walked around this gorgeous little downtown area today, and I thought, where would I rather be? I love Jensen Beach. I've been coming here for years. Used to go to the Snook Nook and on the water sports. But this is where we are going. And if you look at the trend, people, money, investment, jobs are leaving suburban environments and moving into urban environments. And when I say urban, I don't mean New York City. I mean places like Jensen Beach. Your great, adorable little downtown, because the quality of life and the quality of the place is very high here. We're also talking about humans. And in my opinion, urban planning, street design, engineering, all these things that make communities work is about people. This is stolen from Gale Architects, the firm that Dana mentioned from Copenhagen, Denmark, but they have studied deeply for 50 years now how people use the built environment. That's the bottom line, right? We can measure all these things that we measure, cars, buildings, dollars, water flow, all that stuff, but it's all about the human experience. And there are some givens about the human animal. We move slowly, we prefer to move slowly. We take in most of our information with our eyes. We like sensory experiences. We like to be in a place that feels comfortable. Scale, beauty, all these things are important to us innately. It's our nature, it's our instincts. So the concept of place, I don't want you to think about a place like a geographic location. Think of a place in your mind, the idea of a place. And if you're using all these words, if you can see them, I apologize for our washed out image, but I can't stop the sun. If people are using these words to describe your place, you are doing a good job. This is from Project for Public Spaces. This is a poster in my office. We look at this every day at the Downtown Development Authority, because this is how we measure our success. That inner ring is the idea, the outer ring, sociability. Can you see my pointer? These are things we can measure. These are those descriptive words. And then these are those drilling right down to can we quantify those things. These are real world things that impact your quality of life, your business revenues, your property values, everything. So about, well, the last time in 2010, the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation surveyed for 3 years in a row 26 communities across the United States of America, including Palm Beach County. And they asked people what they loved about their place, what attached them to their communities and made them feel like they wanted to fight for them and live there, you know, spend their lives there, invest in them, open their businesses there. And they thought you're going to get the answers that we always think of. It's safe, it's clean, there's good schools, the streets are paved nicely. They didn't get those answers. Number one on the list was what we could probably guess if you think about the human experience. People want to socialize with others that they feel a connection with. They want to meet their peers. Number two on the list, above safety, above schools, above everything else, was community aesthetics and beauty. When I read that report, it changed my life as an urban planner. And I said, the heck with all these wonky, traditional community development things. We're going to go after fun and whimsy and beauty. I didn't abandon all those things, but. What else do we know? Through research, City Observatory, it's a great website. If you are a data nerd, go to City Observatory online and look at what they measure about cities, social trends, and money, where it's going in our society. And I mean in terms of cities and development. Young talent, you just graduated college, Harvard Business School, you're super smart. It's not the old model of, I have a degree, where am I going to work? Find a job, I'm going to Kalamazoo, Michigan. No, this is now, I'm super smart, I want to live in, insert name of city here. I'm going to go there and figure it out. Maybe I'll wait tables for a while, maybe I'll teach school for a while, but I'm going to find my way into being where I want to be. That's what young talent wants. Dense, diverse, interesting. Zero in on that one. Walkable, bikeable places. So this is also another important thing. Just like that giant intersection I showed, this is really what we can affect. I call that the magic triangle. This area here, that's what we can really work on. The intersection of the public realm and the private realm. That's where we can do our best work. If it's in a downtown, that's shop, storefronts, and street, facades of buildings and streetscapes. This includes buildings, parking garages, all that other stuff, landscaped areas. And we can do that in ways that we all know, traditionally, right? Architecture, this is in our Market Street in San Francisco. That building was stunning to me because it was backed up by all this big, like glitzy, industrial looking stuff, and it was this beautiful theater. We can do it with iconic structures. Same trip, same camera, the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. We can do it with what we have traditionally known as public art. That's in Malmö, Sweden, and that's some big conqueror who ran the Vikings out. I mean, it's important if you're from Malmö, Sweden, and you really are attached to that history. But I thought it was kind of cool. It was giant, it was massive, it was really old. But it didn't connect with me. That connects with us, right? Everybody knows that. Iconic. New York City, that's my little daughter Kaya, on her first trip to New York City with Mom, sending Daddy love, sending me the heart. That is really for people, unless you're like a historian, wonky historian guy, that's way more meaningful to people. How about that? Is that meaningful? Is that art? So that's in Copenhagen, Denmark, on their waterfront, that they spent incredible amounts of money to restore and reclaim from industrial use. And they left that train car there on a section of track to look back at their industrial heritage. So all the herring used to get brought in here and processed and put on rail cars. But that car stayed there and it got graffitied up like crazy. And they'd clean it off and they'd paint it and it'd get graffitied up again. Eventually they just left it and it's become an icon. I don't know how much I like that, but the powers that be there have said leave it. Let's just call it part of our public art. How about that? Is that public art? I love that thing so much I took a picture of it. It's changed to that post. It was made out of wood, but it connected with me. One of my most favorite pieces of public art. This is in San Francisco. Everybody knows this. I left my heart in San Francisco. All around the square, the big plaza, are different hearts. This one really drew me in because It's covered in people's pictures, their personal pictures, that when you read the description of this piece of art, they did this call to the community, send us your old pictures, and we're going to laminate them on this heart. And for whatever reason, thousands of people or hundreds of people chose these particular images to send to this artist to make a piece of art that represents the heart of San Francisco. I loved it. I loved it. In fact, I'm working on a public art project with that same intent. Not a heart, but that same intent. Performance art. One of the most weird performance pieces I've ever seen. There's a woman standing right there, Katja Lower. And she performs in videos that she shoots. And here she was performing with a beehive. There was about 2,000 people standing in an alleyway in New York City watching this performance go down. And it was incredible. It was so weird, you couldn't turn away. But it was art, and it was really powerful art. And I think there's an important thing to be said about temporary stuff. So when we started doing public art in downtown West Palm Beach, I can't say that I did it for the purpose of art. I did it to fix problems. I thought as an urban planner that if there's things I need to make better in my community, what's the best way to do them? And we had these ugly things, these signal boxes. And you've seen these boxes all around at every intersection that has a traffic signal. The equipment that controls the traffic signals inside those boxes. And you see the streaks on there. If we weren't watched out, you could see them. This would get graffitied and it would get stickered up and people would paste event posters on it. And we would pay to have it cleaned off every month. And it was costing us a lot of money. So we decided that instead of cleaning the damn thing all the time, let's put our own stuff on it. And I reached out to a couple of local artists and said, come up with an idea. They went to the Historical Society, got historic images of our main street, Clematis Street, turned them into these crazy mashups of modern and old, and laminated them on 3M vinyl wrap onto these signal boxes. That was 7 years ago. I just got an email from Mo Al-Turk with Palm Beach County Traffic Division that I need a permit for this. I'll tell you about that later. I was like, Mo, you work 2 blocks away. There's like 20 of these things downtown. This was it, and then we scaled this up. We started scaling it up, and we said, you know what? The wraps fixed the problem on the signal box of the graffiti. This is no longer there. That's now Brightline's residential development, but this was a big warehouse that always got graffitied, and we'd pay our guy Jay Hartsock to go paint over the graffiti. So we put our own graffiti on it. And you know what? The first day I passed this on my way home, I couldn't believe it. You see that guy? Right there? This was nowhere. This was like nobody wanted to go near this place. I'm on my way home from work, and there's a guy, and there's his friends, and they're taking a picture of him as if he's leaning up against that Chevy, right? And I thought, this was a place people hated. Now they're taking pictures here. We're onto something. And I knew it was working. Not only did we fix a problem, but we made it a destination. This place was nothing, an abandoned building on a big grass field. And then we just started going with it. So this is one of my absolute favorite projects. This is a city garage. It's a stairwell. It's I don't know, 7 stories tall maybe. And there was stuff happening in that garage that shouldn't happen there. As a former law enforcement officer, you could probably guess. And they lit it up. There were signs in there that said, beware, surveillance, danger. And what does that say as a woman? Don't go there. And we hated that. I hated messaging in my downtown. And I think parking garages are tremendously important places because they're often a person's first and last experience with a place. A parking lot or a parking garage has to be as nice as possible because it's what they enter into and it's what they leave with. And if it smells like urine and there's a guy sleeping in it, no thanks, I'm not coming back. So we hired a bunch of artists, local artists, and said, come up with a design and let's go for it. I did get a permit for this. And that cost $14,000. And a week later, it was on the cover of Palm Beach Post Accent Division as, and I'll never forget the headline, downtown's new Cathedral of Art. And at night, blocks away, that thing's a beacon of color. $14,000, best bang for our buck ever spent. Still there. People shoot engagement pictures there, people do photo shoots there, people come see that from all over the place. A parking garage stairway. That's what it looks like inside. It's all kinds of stuff, crazy stuff. So we came up with this, I didn't come up with this, we stole this really, again from Project Public Spaces. Light, quick, and cheap. Part of this was to get around permitting requirements, I'll just be honest. The other part of it was we're spending public dollars. We're a special district, tax funded. So we had to validate ideas and we had to come up with them, things that we could actually churn out quickly, things that don't take 6 months to process and need all kinds of planning and permitting and staff time. So we started thinking new and different. Okay, we've done visual art, what next? How do we change the perception of our place? And downtowns have perception issues, particularly a place like downtown West Palm Beach. We put boogie woogie bands on the street. Another huge bang for our buck. $1,000, March, Thursday afternoon, lunch, beautiful blue sky. The police came and said, next time you're going to do that, tell us because you created a traffic jam. But this was really cool, and what I liked about it was people asked when it's going to happen again. My phone was ringing off the hook. Restaurants in other parts of downtown, when do we get the Boogie Woogie Band from Asheville, North Carolina on our doorstep? And so we started doing that. But again, changing the concept of the place by inserting something new into it. And I've become a big fan of unexpected as well. I mean, there's certain things you want to announce, but it's kind of cool when something just pops up. It creates a buzz. We started doing live art. Visual art happening live. People love to see this happen. This piece here, a collaborator of ours, Cheryl's husband, Beju, came up with the idea of making 24 2-foot by 2-foot plywood cubes and stacking them as a wall, and then one side would get painted, and when it was dry, they would turn all the cubes and have a fresh piece. So we had 5 or 6 walls on one wall. It was a really cool project, and then they'd assemble them in different orders. It was really neat. And those have traveled all over and been painted over and over and over again, the cubes. And that's Eduardo Mendieta, the guy we first worked with that did those cars. That's him doing the first mural on the wall. And this was just on a downtown street, on our main street, on a busy Friday night. And hundreds of people that night stopped and watched him work, shot pictures, shared it on social media. And it creates this idea about West Palm Beach and about who it's for and what's going on there. It shifts the conversation. And then we thought, people love this stuff so much, let's engage the community. And we couldn't figure out how to do it. And we wanted to do it on a building, we couldn't figure that out. So we worked with, again, local artists, the same ones that did the garage, and we created, on the biggest banner material we could get, that's about the size of a parking space, 8 by 20, and we created 4 or 5 different paint by number projects. And we tap condom down onto the asphalt, and we invited the community out to come and make art. And then all of these pieces went and hung in the convention center during the mayor's State of the City address. And they are still there. They go around, they've gone to the library, they've done other stuff. 800 people participated with this on our main street on a Saturday during our green market. And it was one of the best things that we've ever done in terms of community engagement. Simultaneous to this, we were out surveying people and asking them, what more do you want to see of this sort of thing in your downtown? And we just made that hit list. Temporary stuff is fantastic. This is a sculpture by a Polish sculptor named Jerzy Kedziora, and he was doing an exhibit at the Ann Norton Sculpture Garden. I read about it in the newspaper, and I called him and I said, can we get one piece downtown for a week? And he said, can you string a cable holding an 800-pound piece of bronze in the air? And I said, I'll figure it out. And we did, and that stayed there for a week on our waterfront. Spectacular, right? And it's a gymnast, if you can't see, with a ribbon like you see in the dance gymnastics performance in the Olympics. Stunning piece of art. That picture does it no justice. It is very big, bigger than life. I'd say that the figure was probably 10 feet tall, 8 feet tall. So we started quantifying all this and looking at what we were spending on it and looking at what it was generating for us. And also talking to businesses. If a mural went up near them, did you see a change in patronage? Did you see a jump in revenues? And many of them did. So we started taking this back to my board of directors, who are all stakeholders in the district, and saying, here's what we've learned. Give us a little room to run with this, because we think there's potential to go to a bigger level with this. And oh, by the way, I need more money as well. And they agreed to it. So we formed what we call the West Palm Beach Art and Entertainment District. And we did that not just with us, but we did it with all the cultural partners in our community. Museums, performing arts centers, galleries, shops, anything that was art-based in our little downtown, about 1 square mile area roughly. We said, here's what we want to do. You guys are already collectively doing amazing stuff. We want to promote and market this area as a destination for culture and art. And our piece is going to be the public realm. We want to take the beauty and excitement of what's happening in each of your spaces and inject that into the community for everyone to share and everyone to have. And they were on board. And some of them were very hesitant, because here's this upstart downtown district with this guy who's talking about crazy street art projects, and their idea of street art wasn't necessarily in line with a symphony performance or a fine art exhibit. They thought, I don't know, do we want to align our brand with this? But they did get comfortable, and they went, and we did it. And right after we did that, a big opportunity walked in the door in the form of Nicole Henry, who is a curator and a collector of street art, if you can believe that. She curates people's private collections. Shaquille O'Neal, some sheik in Arabia. I mean, she's got incredible prices for art by well-known and not so well-known street artists. Anybody heard of Mr. Brainwash? The guy's getting $250,000 for a piece of art. He's a street artist. So Canvas brought this kind of stuff. Artists from 22 different countries working at a scale we never thought we'd see in our downtown district. The Downtown Development Authority put $25,000 into Canvas, and the total event budget for that year was $250,000. And it was a 2-week festival of art in downtown West Palm, and it created something like 15 or 16 murals at that scale, 2 stories and up, and really cool stuff. That's Clara. She's under a bridge. And know that when the water goes down all the way, you can't see any more than you see there. And that is not spray paint, that is oils. That's a portrait painted from a picture. A guy from Hawaii named Sean Yoro painted that over the course of about a week with oil paint. And my daughter and I, every 6 months, go and varnish it. If you've ever worked with oils, you got to varnish them. So we go down there and the water's shallow, and we have this big roller pole. We varnish Clara. One of my absolute favorites. This is the most photographed location in West Palm Beach. And it's in an alley near a coffee shop. And that's done by an artist named Cobra from Sao Paulo, Brazil. He's worked around the world. One of his most well-known works is a very similar, like, chromatic mural of Bob Dylan in Minneapolis, Minnesota, on the Goldman Sachs building that's like 6 stories tall. And we have 2 of his pieces of work in our downtown district. Most photographed place in West Palm Beach. There's Canvas's outdoor exhibits, year 1, and we went into year 2. And then we just kept rolling it out. As the community got more confidence in us, they stepped forward and wanted to partner. PNC Bank, I love them to death. I moved our entire operating budget to them. And they have become a major sponsor of art. If you look at the platforms in which they donate to, it's early childhood education, economic development, and art. And when they saw what we were doing, they have a major branch, I think it's a regional headquarters in our downtown. They said, can we help you? And we said, absolutely, you can help us. And they sponsored annually a symphonic performance, free, 60-piece symphony and ballet performance in our downtown at our amphitheater. And it was because they saw what we were doing, the potential. They said, what do you want to do? You've done street art, you've done performance art, like what's next? And we said, we want to go really big, and we want to go to the other end of the spectrum of street art. Let's do symphony. And what I loved about this event, and we surveyed people, was that it was a representative sample of our community. It was moms and kids, it was nice older people, it was hipsters. When you get hipsters and old ladies together, you rocked it. That's good, right? And I was shocked at the outpouring of support for that event. We've done it every year since, and it's about a $60,000 event, and probably 75% of that is sponsored every year. Free public event. After we established ourselves as a district and sort of had set the tone for what we were capable of, and I will tell you, as a small organization with a small staff, going from street art to symphony was scary and a risk. Probably one of the more stressful professional times for me was when we had our neck out that far with that much money and that much commitment to a 60-piece symphony. We took what we had done and we started going out to foundations and looking for opportunities. And I had written a letter or two to the Knight Foundation after I read their Soul of the Community report, which influenced how I approached my job. And I asked them if there were ever opportunities to collaborate with them, I'd love to have the chance. And followed that up by saying, oh, by the way, we've created this cool district and we have some cool partners. If you see West Palm Beach as a target, here's my contact information. 6 months later, I got a phone call from the Knight Foundation from a young lady named Lily Weinberg, and she said, we've got this really neat project called the Musical Swings, and we were trying to get it into Miami, but there's too much red tape. Does West Palm Beach want to be the first place, the second place in the United States of America to ever have the Musical Swings? And I said, how much money do I need and how much time do I have? And she said, you've got about a month to pull it together and it'll cost you $60,000. So I went to Art in Public Places, I went to community partners, I went to Jeff Green, property owner, and I pulled every resource I had together and we made it happen. And I'm so thrilled we did, because this was the real game changer, was this installation. And I can't tell you about it, so I have to show you. It's too uncommon to actually tell, but I'll show you a quick video, if you don't mind. So this is a news piece. There were probably a dozen of these news pieces.
A work of art that just happens to be a mini public park anyway, was unveiled this morning right near the corner of Rosemary and Clematis Street in the downtown West Palm area. Everyone and anyone is welcome to go and play the piano, the harp, or even the guitar by sitting and swinging, actually. The Now's Rachel Leta was downtown to try out the Musical Swings.
When was the last time you can honestly say you let your hair down and just went out for a swing? Well, some in downtown West Palm Beach can honestly say this morning.
With a little pump of your legs, you can relive your childhood and make some music.
I want to try and go really high to like hit fa.
The higher you swing, the higher the note.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm playing the instrument. I love this.
Kanan Walker is trying out the Musical Swings, a new temporary public art installation on Clematis Street.
These swings aren't for little kids, they're for everyone, and this swing brings everyone together in such a nice way that you don't usually see every day.
Even the mayor did some swinging, showing you're never too grown up to swing, something local artist Cheryl Mordiente agrees with.
I say just go swing. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? To have something that's so renowned to come just to West Palm Beach, that's incredible.
This is the first time the Musical Swings have come to the East Coast. It's the second time the Swings have come to the U.S., and West Palm Beach is the first stop on the 2016 North American tour. Carmen Banders came all the way from the Netherlands to see the Swings and meet the team behind it.
Everybody is smiling, everybody is happy and laughing, and I was very intrigued when I saw the Swings the very first time, and I decided that it was so fantastic and so nice and so great, and I thought we really need to get the Swings to Europe. So, and basically that's my goal. That's why I'm here.
The musical swings are here in downtown West Palm Beach through Sunday, March 6th. Reporting in downtown West Palm Beach, I'm Rachel Leto for The Now.
That is the neatest thing. I can't wait to go. That Rachel Leto gets all the good stories, doesn't she? Thanks.
So they were there for a month, and in that month, 35,000 people came to the musical swings. 35,000 people. And later in the presentation, I'm going to show you the economic impact of that. It was incredible. I talked about measuring. How do you know this is working? And I'll get into dollars and cents in a minute. But in my opinion, as not just as a professional, but as a community stakeholder, I think that looking beyond dollars and cents is really important. Looking at place and quality of life and the individual experience in your city is really what drives the other stuff, that dollars and cents. So this is how you know it's working. When you see this happening. When you see people posing for their engagement photo in front of a mural. Or playing, right? Talking to JFK, telling him a secret. And you know, if you're on social media at all, people hashtag stuff all the time. So I'll just every so often, or have my director of marketing, just run a report on downtown WPB art or street art WPB, and just give me a quick snapshot of what's going on out there. Every month, there's more and more and more. This is absolutely free, positive marketing for your place. And it's not, look, I bought an ad and I'm the guy who has to tell you West Palm Beach is great. It's somebody that you connect with, that you identify with, telling you, this place is so cool, I wanted to take my picture here and share it with the world. Best marketing ever for free. Well, you got to make the art happen, but the marketing is free. Just keeps going, right? I love this one the most. Had our family photo shoot this weekend utilizing the amazing wall art in downtown West Palm Beach. What's more special than that? And then when the local magazines start featuring you on the cover, that was pretty cool. Maybe a little provocative, but size matters. Scale, I should say scale. Size was more provocative though. When you have a big space, go big. If you can go big, because the impact of that is tremendous on people. And I can't, like that previous video, I can't really tell you how big that is, so I'll show you. This is quick. This is on a city parking garage. 2 of these. A little message to our city. Dream bigger. How tall is that? 70 feet? It's about 70 feet tall. It's by an artist named Lonak. First time he ever worked in North America. He's from Croatia, and he free-handed that on a bucket, on a lift truck. Free-handed it from a piece of paper. I kid you not. Took him 2 weeks. It's called When I Met You, I Lost My Shoe. And the little boy's shoe, his flip-flop is gone. And it's so big that people can't really even photograph it. And what I love about this is I'll camp out here on the sidewalk facing people as they walk toward it, because I love these looks that they get, right? And every person that goes by this smiles. And it's right near the Brightline station, so there's going to be more and more people seeing this. This happens all day, every day. I like the reactions that people have are astonishment and joy, right? And then also small. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. This is on a building in the 500 block, the old Downtown Uptown project, and it's by that same artist that did that giant mural that says, think bigger. And it's a little thing, I mean, it's this big, right? That was part of Canvas. The artist was here part of Canvas, but that wasn't part of Canvas. He just went and put about 5 or 6 of these little ones around downtown, just as little love notes, kind of. Another one, Megzany. I don't even know, she's all over the world. I never even knew she was in West Palm Beach. She saw the street art here, was I guess on her way to Art Basel, and stopped and tagged a building with this, and as the father of 2 girls, I love that. Courage has no gender. I think it's cool, and it's a secret place. In fact, I think that building got demolished. I think that was the old Ford Modeling Agency. And then our latest thing is, can we go to the individual level with creativity and whimsy? And I heard about this cool project called Short Edition. A friend of mine sent me a link. He lives in San Francisco, and he sent me a link to this YouTube video of this particular machine that was in Francis Ford Coppola's cafe in San Francisco. And it's got 3 buttons on it. 1, 2, 3. And when you push a button, you get a 1-minute, 3-minute, or 5-minute fictional short story. It's got a database of 50,000 stories. They're all clean. They're appropriate for anyone. You push a button and come for free, it spits out a short story on receipt paper that you have. It's only yours. You can give it to somebody. You can roll it up and keep it. In Subculture Coffee, where this one is, they have a little board with magnets. You can read your story and share it with somebody else. But it's at this super personal level. It's just for you. And we have 3 of these now. That was our first one. We wanted to see how it would work. We have 2 others going into Starbucks, 2 Starbucks in downtown and City Place and then on Clematis. I wish they could go outside, but they can't, so we're putting them in quasi-public spaces, places that function as public spaces, third places, if you call them that, where anyone can go, but you don't necessarily have to pay to be there. So now a cautionary tale, because not all public art is loved. It's controversial. Art is controversial by nature. This is a fun and maybe scary story. That is Alexander Graham Bell as a mashup of all things that have iconically been used by Bell Telephone over its entire history to market and promote themselves in one way or another. I don't know what this chick has to do with Bell Telephone. She's talking on a phone. The artist, Tristan Eaton from LA, internationally renowned artist. He's painted all over the world. He's done Audrey Hepburn, he's done JFK, he's done Alexander Graham Bell. And Alexander Graham Bell is really big. He's on the wall of a former building. The building formerly was Bell Telephone. It's now Alexander Lofts. It's 800 square foot loft apartments. Super cool, adaptive reuse of an old industrial building. And this big blank wall, they commissioned Tristan Eaton because they saw all this other art in downtown. So Ram Realty and Development, great neighbors, great corporate neighbors, said, we're going to do some big, really big art. They commissioned Tristan Eaton. He comes up with this mashup of Alexander Graham Bell. They go through the Art in Public Places process, and bammo, this thing goes up there. They never engage the community. So where you are, east of this building, looking west, are 2 condominiums. Right? With a population that is heavily originally from the Northeast. If you are Eastern European, especially if you're Jewish, the evil eye means something to you. That, my friends, is the evil eye. And they were absolutely furious that this went up looking in their window 24/7, all day long, without a single bit of engagement. Do you like this? Can we put this guy up in your neighborhood? Nobody said a word. And granted, it was done with private money, but nonetheless, huge community impact. I mean, he's big. I mean, those are stories, right? So they were adamant about it, and one lady, Carol Shine, wrote a letter to the Art in Public Places coordinator, copied me and the mayor on it, and said, this is a travesty, it's a terrible thing you've done to our community, and I hope something bad doesn't happen. Well, you better believe the eye fell off about a year later. accidentally. I mean, how are you going to knock bricks off a building 3 stories up? I don't know if it was accidental. Carol was adamant. The eye fell off the building, tons of bricks, landed on top of a law office, collapsed the roof, injured people. And you know, all this, they said, we told you that was a bad thing to do. So there was a real, I mean, it was, I don't know, it freaked me out. I have to say, I'm not a superstitious guy, but it totally freaked me out. So, a great statement about the property owner. They brought Tristan Eaton back, paid him another $40,000, recommissioned the work. They now took out most of that naughty looking chick, and they made Alexander look away from those folks in the building, and his eye is no longer a devilish red, and they gave him, you know, a better look, and they even gave him a girlfriend to look at now. Right? She's on a new building they just built. That's Eris, which made me scratch my head a little bit. You just had the evil eye take down a whole chunk of your building, and now you put Eris, the goddess of discord, on your new building. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Did they do community engagement for those children?
I hope they did, but I would have asked for no Eris. I mean, why not Isis or, I don't know. Eris. She's the goddess of discord. Look at her. She's upset. She's just distraught. Anyway, cautionary tale. So measuring impact. When the swings got here, we wanted to really, because we spent $60,000 of our money and others' money, and we wanted to measure what that did. We are a public agency. We wanted to truly understand what it does. So we commissioned a survey group that works with art institutions, including museums, public art institutions. She's worked for the New York Public Library, Sir Ralph Phillips. And we did an economic, and I asked for social impact as well. And this didn't cost us that much money relative to the project. And we learned some really important stuff. 34,000 people came. And that was not, that was a combination. Those swings are all computerized. They actually make harmony when you swing on them. And every time somebody would swing on them and they would stop, it registers that. And then she also did on-site surveys, and we came up with a conservative estimate of 34,000 people in a month. Half of those people only came because the swings were there. People from Jensen Beach, people from Fort Lauderdale, people from all over the place. A woman from Holland. When they were here, they spent money. That was, you know, something to prove, but we wanted to quantify it. So of that 48%, about nearly $400,000 of economic impact in 1 month went to our local economy. And that's not hotel rooms. I don't know if people booked hotel rooms. That's actually impact to small businesses in our downtown. But this is what I was most excited about. When people were surveyed, what did you think of this? They said it made them happy. Right? And that's my little daughter. That's what she said when they left. She still asks me that. When are the swings coming back? And this quote here, this is a powerful one. This is from the report, right out of it. Emotional response is often used as a key indicator of social impact, right? How does it make someone feel? What does it make them come away with? And these were words people used. Happy, calming, therapeutic, peaceful, and awesome. That's worth every single penny if you can inject that into your community on a regular basis. And we've heard similar responses about public art in general, that people love it, it makes them feel happy. So I'll close, I have just 2 more slides. And this was a personally powerful experience for me. In our downtown, there are 3 assisted living facilities. One of them is called Noreen McKean, and it's run by the Carmelite Sisters. And they have all levels of assisted care. And this is June, and she has Alzheimer's. And her husband, when he learned about the swings, he brought June to the swings. And every morning on my way to work, early in the morning, I would stop by on my way in, and we wanted to stop them at a certain point, so at 10 o'clock we would just rope it off and put a little sign up, and amazingly nobody messed with them. And then on my way in the morning, I would open it up. And they'd be there, 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and they'd get on the swings before other people came. And I would say hi to them all the time, and I asked June if I could take a picture. So about 2 days after the swings had been broken down and shipped off to their next destination, I came back, and they were standing there, June and her husband, and she asked me when the swings, why they left, and when they were going to come back. And I talked to her husband later, and he told me that it really helped her connect with herself again. And I can't tell you, like, I had a sense of regret about that, because it was a meaningful thing for her, and that was a really special thing for me. So, lessons learned. Start small. Communities can be really shaken up by public art projects, even small ones. I think using local artists is absolutely necessary, and it does two things. It engages your community, and it also helps grow your local art scene. If your artists become well known, they'll do better, they'll make more money, they'll grow. It helps everybody. Stay out of the box, don't copy, be fresh, do new things. Work at different scales, and I think that's important because it can get sort of boring if you do only one thing. Learn from that stuff, measure it, talk to people. If you can afford to do it, do actual surveys, quantify it. Use more, and then when you grow, keep using your locals. We got a lot of flack when international artists came and worked in West Palm Beach. Even though the locals were involved, they were not happy that there was some guy from Sao Paulo, Brazil, getting this huge wall, and they weren't. So that was a hard lesson to learn. I love the idea of getting people comfortable by doing permanent things. That's why paint is easy. It's cheap, and you can undo it. You can paint it over. Paint is an easy one. You know, you start throwing sculptures in or making major investments in infrastructure for stuff, that's there, and it's a huge cost. And when I say stay out of the box, you see my little disclaimer, right? And then I'll end with this. These are my daughters, and we were going to visit my father, who lives in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we flew from West Palm Beach to Philly, and we tried to get to the Amtrak because driving in and out of Philly is a nightmare. And I said, Dad, we'll just catch the train. Well, traffic in Philly was a nightmare. We missed the train. So we had some time, and we walked around the neighborhood that the train station was in looking for some food. And it was a pretty gritty, rough place. In fact, I second guessed, like, my wife looked at me, you know, what were you thinking taking us here with two kids, you know? But as we're walking through this kind of rough neighborhood, this little piece of public art was there, like a love note. It reminded me of those little hearts you get on Valentine's Day, right? And before I could even say anything, my two girls ran right over there and said, Daddy, take a picture of us. Kids connect with stuff. And to me, that said somebody loved this place enough to put a love note there for anybody to enjoy. And that to me was a validation from my own experience in a place that wasn't mine about the power of even the littlest public art. And that's the end of my presentation.